Welcome back to ARCC Reset TV Talk. This is your host, Brent, working as a Community Support Coordinator at ARCC.
Hello, this is Juliana. I'm the narrator and community voice of ARCC, and you're watching us live from Aotearoa, New Zealand.
Today's Reset TV Talk with ARCC aims to honor the courage, strength, and determination of displaced people who are forced to flee their homeland under the threat of conflict and persecution as we commemorate and observe World Refugee Day on the 20th of June each year worldwide. It is an opportunity to highlight the event to the New Zealand public and the world, and it is essential to remind ourselves as the resettled migrants about the event.
This year's World Refugee Day theme is whoever, wherever, whenever, everyone has the right to seek safety. We are standing in solidarity with those still seeking safety worldwide in the refugee host countries to find permanent protection. And thank you for watching us live last time on Resettlement Journey to Aotearoa, New Zealand, where we shared our lived experiences of the resettled journey through a sincere conversation with the resettled community and the New Zealand public.
First of all, I would like to introduce our team who are participating in this talk. This is Aban Ke'eyor. He's a community advocate, educator, author, and CEO of ARCC. He's been working with ARCC for 15 years of community service in New Zealand resettlement sector.
Also joining us is Faisal Yusuf, who is a community support worker. And he's a New Zealander who is originally from Sudan. And Asif, who is the Communications and Engagement Officer, who has been working with ARCC for 4 years.
As we commemorate World Refugee Day, Aban, can I ask what World Refugee Day means?
Thank you, Mfoy and Oliana, for having us here today. First of all, World Refugees Day, for interest of our audience, I think I might be able to highlight the timeline of the World Refugees Day. So the World Refugees Day is used to be celebrated in 1914, and at the time they call it as the World Day of Migrant and Refugees, and that was published in by Pope, and they used to celebrate it in January, every January. So now, what's in the current World Refugees Day, I will just to reflect on the actual day. United Nations Assembly, they have opportunity in 2000, September the 1st, 2000, because the United Nations, they have marked 50 years of the establishment of Geneva Convention on the related refugee status, because it was established in 1951. So when they reflect on the 50 years anniversary, they thought to themselves, we need to commemorate this day where the refugees need to be honored on that day. So on the 4th of December, they said, we are marking the 50 years, so it's important to say this is the World Refugees Day. But before it celebrated World Refugees Day, they used to call it African Refugees Day. Unfortunately.
Can I ask for African
Refugees Day.
Why are they asking about Africa?
I think at the time, because African continent, always, if there is something, as you know, or many in the world know, that Africa known by a lot of wars, and was in that, although many people have better understandings, the refugees start in Europe.
Yeah.
Yes, the refugees start in Europe before Africa, or before Latin America, or before Asia. So within that, in particular, century has been Africa affected by many wars and people being displaced in different places. But as Africa, the nature of Africa, they love to celebrate. So within that, there is a lot of refugees came in different countries in Africa.
Yeah.
So within that, waiting for resettlement in other countries, it become something like many years people are living in the refugees camp there. So when the Refugees Day come, then they celebrate. So this is where the name African Refugees Day come.
They celebrate.
Yeah.
They celebrate displacing them, or what they celebrating? I don't know why.
Yeah, because UNHCR as an international community, the role of UNHCR, as we discussed last time, is just to safeguard the people in a refugee situation and also give them protection and make sure as well they've been protected and get the permanent solution, which is last time we talked about it.
Yeah.
We said the refugees in the temporary term for anyone who be in that situation.
Yeah.
So the UNHCR, they have the three durable solution. The first solution, if they go to their country of origin, the refugees situation already has been ended. If they resettle in the country of the refugees' host country, if they've been given local integration, they also the journey, the situation finished. And the third one, which is where we end up in New Zealand, where the refugees' status has been changed to permanent resident.
Yeah.
So to go back to your question, the world commemorate the World Refugees Day on the June 20th, so each year, and the first celebration was 2001. So that was the first celebration of the World Refugees Day was June 20th, 2001. And that is today we are really remarking that day, the World Refugees Day. So we have two different aspects of the World Refugees Day. The UN, they designed that day to honor those in a refugee situation, to encourage them, to make sure that they have hope for their life, they have strength in order for them to overcome that kind of a situation. This is the UN part of the story. But the missing part of the story is that the refugees themselves, their voice is absent. So how do you celebrate the World Refugees Day? People like ourselves here, losing your own land, homeland, your relative has been killed in war. There is a lot of dark of your background story. So for us, people who been through that journey, it's not a celebration. Okay, we are commemorating, reminding ourselves of what happened to us. Because many of us has been forced to leave their country. It's not on their own choice. But you find yourself in another foreign country who open their heart for you to be safe and to protect you. In the case we are in New Zealand here. So for many of us, we need to have more education, more awareness about what the World Refugees Day really mean to every individual. For example, for me, being in New Zealand here, losing my grandfather, losing my father, losing my brother, just forget other relatives, okay? Because of what? Because of the war. And the people always talking about the refugee situation, but no one talk about the root cause of what is produced refugees in the world. And that is the important topic for us today, just to highlight how we will be able to mobilize political will on the need, and I can say that to stop something called conflict in the world.
Yes. If you feel that the celebration is getting back our memories of what happened to us in that period, and every year since I come to New Zealand, because before I don't celebrate this thing. I don't know there is a
World Refugees
Day. Because I'm sitting in my country, I'm sitting with my family, I don't know nothing about it. Since I go there, outside of there, and I feel when I come to New Zealand, the first year, I'm astonished when I'm saying, why the celebration this? But now Avan, he explained that celebration. But when they say to us, Refugee Day, we remember the sadness, what happening through that journey. It's really sadness, and we thought that we lost our friends, we lost our family, we lost our country, we lost our houses, we lost our homes.
Yeah, but I think at the same time it's very, as Saban says, that people need to educate that that's not a celebration, that's commemoration. And at the same time, we need to, feel encouraged that we got over all those hard time and hardship that we've been. And I know that when I was in a refugee situation, many of my friends, they were not able to resettle and they just die on the journey. And it's really hard time. You need to be in the shoes and to know that it's very difficult.
We're talking about World Refugee Day and why it's important to commemorate it and what is the meaning behind World Refugee Day. And we would like to talk about our stories as world refugees and becoming New Zealanders.
Yeah, I think to reflect on that question, the important about the World Refugees Day is it's more about being aware and educating ourselves about the tragedy and also the opportunity people have. Because on today's day of the World Refugees Day is about mobilizing the governments, about the need and the resources which is people in a refugee situation to get help.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what the UN is, United Nations always they highlight those kind of stuff because they can't do the job themselves. They do it with the support of other donors. Sometimes the role of UN is like the role of ambulance. When something happens, then they will come and rescue you.
Yes.
That's exactly the role of UN. But what is important here we discuss about is that for all government around the world, because the work created by government.
Yeah.
I want to be honest here because this conversation is about being sincere on honest opinion on things happen to our life.
Yes.
Okay, so if you look around the world, the war is created by government, whether political disagreement or whether economic disagreement. So this is what is happening in the world today, and then the refugees they become vulnerable on the product of those wars. Okay, no one is highlighting about that, but in our war sittings, being a humanitarian organization, is that affecting our work and that is affecting our daily life
Yes.
when we see everyone is being affected.
Yes.
Now today we are celebrating the World Refugee Day. In the present time, we see what is going on in Europe and especially in Ukraine.
Yes.
The civilians are dying.
Yes.
Okay, and that's not acceptable. Those what we see through the media. But what about those who are dying in Lebanon, who are dying in Syria, who are dying in Uganda, who are dying in Iraq, who are dying in Afghanistan, who are dying in Pakistan, who are dying in all over the world? Those countries was wars.
Yes.
So with this kind of honest conversation is that let us look back in our humanity and see what we can do, because every small action is count.
Yeah.
For those who are trying to produce kind of this conflict, is just to look at themselves in terms of the humanity and just stop that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is where we will have the conversation of how do we educate ourselves and other people who are listening.
Also, when we are commemorating, and I'd like to hear one or two funny incidents that happened with you while you were refugee, because I'm sure our audience also wants to, because I think we are moving to very serious conversation. Let's have some humor.
Let's take some humor about. We have a lot of good memories when we are refugees. But I'm gonna start with the band because we have a lot of memory from there, from what happening there.
No, what the funny stuff is when I was in a prison in Syria. So was in the prison, it was my duty to cook. It was my duty to cook, and then I need onion.
Like,
So the correction officers was in the prison. There is everyone have a duty to help the prisoners
Yeah.
to go and bring the onion.
yeah.
And then we give the money to the correction officer, and he went and he bought the onion. And onion is not good. It's all not good.
Yeah.
So when I went to give him back to go and replace it, he took me out from the prison and going to just to beat me up.
Okay.
And then while we are on the way, I saw the big officer is coming, and I called him and I asked him a question, and I said, it doesn't mean that because I am a prisoner, I don't have a right. Okay? And he said, what do you mean? And I said, I pay money to get onion, and now the onion is smell bad, and I can't cook. When I ask to be replaced, they are punishing me right now. And he said, oh, come here. And then we went and we talked about it, and then rather for them to punish me, he been punished. And then when I returned to my cell, and those people, they were laughing and said, how did you do that? And I said, I asked for my right, and they give me my right. So that's one of the accidents when you're in that kind of situation. It's not actual being outside, but just being in a prison. So those are kind of the hard time being in a prison. So
That's right. Yeah, one story, funny story I also want to share. When I was back in Thailand, and we started this small organization, and one of the UN affiliated organization asked that you guys are doing a good job. We are having a World Refugee Day. I still remember that time, and they say I want to invite you as a chief guest over there. So we went there, and we run the World Refugee Day, and one of the CEO of that organization came to me and asked me, how long have you been running this? I said just 4 months, and I told her that I might be going to New Zealand in 2 months, and she asked me that so do you come to Thailand more often, or do you stay in New Zealand? And I looked at her face because she thought that I'm from New Zealand. And I said, no, this is the first time I'm being resettled to New Zealand. And she looked at me face and shocked. So you mean you're a refugee and you're
going to New Zealand?
Going to New Zealand, helping these. How can you help someone in being in a refugee situation? And I remember one quote I told her of Einstein. Einstein says that a refugee brings more than their luggage. It's not just the luggage they bring their experience, they bring their education. And
I think your case is very clear because many people misunderstood what the refugees mean. Okay, because they think that based on the policy and the program, they've been told in the situation of the refugees is that because it's just people need something, they need help.
Yes.
Okay, they don't have any skill, they don't have even brain either.
Exactly.
They just subject stuff. So many countries in the world today, they start noting that how it's important the resettlement process because those refugees who are come to resettle in the country of the resettlement, their contribution, it paid off many times. If you remember, there is a saying when our former Prime Minister, Alan Clark, in the UN Assembly, when she was trying to run for the General Secretary of UN, when she been asked a question about the refugees, she's proud of the process New Zealand had done in a refugees program, because she was giving them by saying the refugees pay more than what we have been giving them to my own country, which is something many of us should be proud of that, because it's not about the label that's been given to us, but we look at the angle of the humanity, how we will be able to contribute to our own country, which is New Zealand. Here we are proof for that. Okay, we are talking in this conversation or Resett TV talk, we are proof that we are not just a people who just need something, but we are people who can give back. When we've been given opportunity, always we give back, and we give twice, and more than that.
Yeah,
No,
we're
that's
gonna
good.
appreciate that thing. That's New Zealand give us a good life, better life, and we're gonna appreciate it. And we transfer this thing to our kids. They must appreciate New Zealand because they are coming here. And sometimes I have argued with my son about why we come here. We come here for your safety, for your good study. And
Yeah,
you must
Faisal,
appreciate
sorry,
it.
I'm cutting you off. Before we forget, I want to hear what your
Yeah.
story is.
Sorry,
You're being cheeky.
Yeah, in Malaysia, I'm running my own company and I drive in car, and I have the UN card.
Okay.
And the UN card is they give it to you after they declare you are a refugee, because before
When they accept you
they
as
accept
a
you
refugee,
as a refugee.
yeah, they give
And
you
they give
protection
you
card.
protection card. And most of the policemen, they don't understand this whole thing.
Exactly.
And what this guy and the color and everything is different. I'm driving my car and suddenly there is a block. They do it not like he did.
Police check.
The police check. And I stop my car and he asked me, "Where's your passport?"
Okay.
He speaking English because he knows that I'm not speaking Bahasa Malay.
Yeah.
And I bring out I don't have passport because already I give him my card and he looked the card. And he called his superior. Three of them, they looking at the card and look at me, looking at the card.
What is this?
What is this? I said, this is United Nations protection. And I spent 1 hour to explain to them, because if they take the car outside, they say take the car outside the road and wait here. And they call in the walkie-talkie and the phone, this is it. And after maybe 45 minutes, 1 hour, and they come to me. The police there is not, I'm not going to say it is not, they give, that's mean you must give something. Yeah.
Yes.
And I pull my some like 20 ringgit and I give it to them and say, why don't you say it from the beginning you are a refugee? Like, I'm saying, okay, that's it, they understand it. And it's a lot of situations you go there because I think their government, they don't educate them about us.
Yeah.
So they say this is different from
And
them.
not just Malaysia, I think is all
whole-
over the Asian countries
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines,
Yeah, they
even
don't-
Hong
don't
Kong.
educate
They
them.
don't know this situation.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear about your experience in the refugee host country, and I'm sure there are some hard times, and
Yeah.
then you have to go through in that country as well.
I just had a question because we have been talking about the difference between saying celebrating World Refugee Day and commemorating it. And it's quite obvious that in New Zealand, most people know it as a celebration.
Yeah.
So how is World Refugee Day celebrated in New Zealand?
In terms of New Zealand, what we already observe is that there is a government agency who celebrate World Refugee. For example, government every year they celebrate World Refugees Day in a parliament, and they invite all the community to go there and celebrate with them. Also at the school, for some school who have refugees background or forced migrant, in those schools, some of the school they acknowledge about that day and they celebrate. This is what they know, and also ARCC was Immigration New Zealand and UNHCR and IOM. We celebrate World Refugees Day every year at the Mangere Resettlement Center. So this is how it's been celebrated. But in the meanings of celebration, it's something which is we acknowledge those who are celebrating it. But when it comes to our community, for example, of ARCC, always not a celebration for us. It's a commemoration.
Yeah.
Why we are commemorating that is just to ensure to join our hand with the UNHCR to educate or mobilize the government on the need of people who are still in this refugee situation, because giving a sense of how many million a year who are being displaced in a different countries is very huge. So now what we are trying to share from New Zealand point of view is that if anyone or either you are a politician or either you are a business person or whether your title in society is that for us to cooperate and contribute to what is going on in the world today. I know New Zealand also they have a special visa for Ukrainian people for coming to New Zealand, and especially for those who have relative in New Zealand here, give them opportunity so that they can come and join their relative here in New Zealand. So this is one of the example of being a New Zealander. We are proud our government are doing things which is a positive, and we need to, as a society as well, we need to come together to see how we will help them. For example, they've been given opportunity coming to New Zealand, and now ARCC experience those who arrive in New Zealand here. There's a lot of need in terms of the accommodation, in terms of establishing their life. So those are kind of the things we are start noting right now. World Refugees Day is a day where we will be able to just to seek more awareness about what is happening in the world today. But the most important things I do encourage people is that trying to understand the root cause of the production of the refugees in the world. Because the next generation, my fear for my children and the next generation is that we create a mess, and when we leave this world one day, we are leave it with children, even they never have a say in what is happening. And this is the foot step we are stepping in, because there are things that's been created around the world, and now innocent people are being just caught up to it. So the more we know, the more we're educating ourselves, the more it's better to find a way how we can solve that. And we know that any form of conflict is not acceptable.
Yes.
Yeah. So let us just take the opportunity as a New Zealanders and also as a worldwide, it's to try to reduce the violence in the world by looking at the humanity values and just living in peace. And I always try to encourage people, the different creator brought us to this world, we should not use it to divide us. We should use it as a strength to bring us together. Because the diversity, that's what our world is. It's a one village, one global. We don't have two worlds. We have only one world. And every one of us have one life, not two lives. Okay? It's really very important. The life we live in is a temporary. Okay? Like sometimes when I need to present to some people who don't understand what the word refugees mean, I try sometimes tell them you are refugees in your own way where you don't know. And they ask me a question, what do you mean? If I describe the word refugees as a temporary term, you as well live in this world in temporary term. Okay? Your permanent place when you die. Okay? And the word refugees have become temporary because the permanent place when the durable solution found. And they look at me and say, how do you analyze this? You see? Because that's the reality. Many people, they're not confronting that to happen. But that's what is the reality. I hope I answered your question.
So, how is ARCC commemorating World Refugee Day this year?
We have two occasions trying to commemorate World Refugees Day. One is a celebration. Okay, as I said before, it's important to acknowledge those who are celebrating it, but also we are commemorating in our own way. So the celebration, we are joining a hand with Immigration New Zealand, which is the MBIA, and also UNHCR, RES New Zealand, and IOM. So we are celebrating together on the 18th at the Mangere Resettlement Center, and also ARCC commemorating the World Refugees Day on the actual day, the 20th of June this year. So we will be celebrating it with our community and friends and the support of ARCC, just to commemorate that day. And also it will be the special day for ARCC as well, because we are launching our first ever magazine entitled New Resident Magazine, and the slogan is When We Become New Zealanders. So this magazine as well is opportunity to have sincere, lovely welcoming to those who come to New Zealand under refugees quarter programs who become a resident of New Zealand. This is the way of ARCC, is just to make sure that they are welcome in terms of knowing who they are, because the majority of people coming to this country, they come under the vulnerability. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
And that's why the service provider take advantage of them, labeling them as a refugees while they're having a permanent resident, labeling them to live in the past, and they become hostage because of their past, being a former refugees or refugees background while they're in the title of New Zealand, permanent resident and citizen of New Zealand.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think even in the last show we discussed that we highlighted that when we were in a refugee situation in asylum countries, what happened is that we must need to say yes to everything, and when they come to New Zealand, they come with the same mentality that this is how this works. So I think this is a very good step ARCC is putting.
I think the refugees, this is a commemoration we are having for 20 for. As you say, that's before 2020.
There is a 3 timeline. It's in 1914, they used to celebrate it as a World Day of Migrant and Refugee. Okay, and then before the actual World Refugees Day, which has been celebrated for first time in the June 20, 2001, they used to call Africa Refugees Day. So now you have a World Refugees Day.
And they discovered that they are wrong. The refugees
not only that, the thing is, they give you the name. Okay?
Why did you give it this name like this?
Because, Faisal, like we said last time, okay, when you're in a refugee's host country, you say yes for everything.
Yes.
And the reason for it, because UNHCR, they act on your behalf if you've been protected. Okay? If you're not being protected as well, there is a local NGOs or national NGOs of that country who are trying to support you guys, but they have program and policy that apply to you. You must say yes for everything. Okay? Because you are in a vulnerable situation. What you're looking for safety, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you must say yes for everything. At the same thing, so that's why we always trying to aware the service provider within the New Zealand context by saying, don't adopt the refugees host country policy and program to the resettlement country, because New Zealand is a resettlement country.
Yeah.
Why you want to adopt the language or the use of wrong terminology from the refugees host country to New Zealand? Because what is important is that if we are welcoming people and we have a beauty opportunity within in New Zealand, when we look at the Tangata Whenua, New Zealand indigenous, they're having really very, it's not just simple, but very important values. Okay, and those values of Manakitanga, okay, it's really is very rich. So if we welcome people with the dignity that with respect we give them, okay, that's the starting of healing process.
Yes.
Okay, that's the starting of recovering.
I remember that in Mangri Resettlement Center, when the Maori comes and they are receptionists.
Yes.
Welcoming us.
Oh, that healing is very high. I feel like I'm flying. People love me. Yeah, I'm here, I'm welcoming. And suddenly when I go out, sometimes I scratch with the system. The system is not working enough. First thing when I go to the hospital and say, where is our name in the form? And they say other. We are not others.
You other or refugees?
No. So I always scratch and write something different. I say New Zealandan, African, like this. But they don't write it here.
No.
New Zealandan, yeah. It's a very, sometimes the people, they shocked because we are more educated, but there's some people coming as a former refugees. They are not educated with this. They stuck in this place, and we need them. ARCC need them to move forward, because anyone have something here. As the band say all the time to me, God create everyone for a purpose. He have a mission to do it in this life. So give us opportunity to do this mission in our country, New Zealand.
Now, I think within ARC we have taken a further role that, which is every New Zealander can do, in terms of welcoming people within a sincere welcoming, and also using the language that is really it's respect them, because it's about respect. But if we don't respect them in that way, we follow in a system that marginalizing them.
Yes.
So they are vulnerable, and on arrival we have two type of people. People who arrive know nothings, even they don't know what their identity is.
Yeah.
Those are become vulnerable to the system. And there are people who know who they are, but at the same time they fear for their life to say anything based on the damage has been done in the refugees' host country.
Yes.
So those kind of the situation, both they are vulnerable to any services in New Zealand. That's why you can't see their voice. So now the way of ARCC approach is not just about telling the system, but it's important to educate our own community to have better understanding about who they are, what their right is, what the entitlement is, because it's a part of our contribution to our society in New Zealand. We're not here to change New Zealand system, but we are here to improve New Zealand system where we can be part of.
Yeah.
So what messages would you like to give to the world refugees around the world?
In terms of those who are still seeking safety, who are being recognized by UNHCR as refugees, remember, you have three opportunities UNHCR will give you. And the UNHCR, they are your advocate. Whether you are returned to your country of origin, whether you have opportunity to resettle, to integrate to the country of refugees, or you will be able to resettle in a third country. My message to you, if you're watching our show or you're watching ARCC Resett talk, make sure you have hope. Okay? What happened to you is not your fault.
Yeah.
The situation you've been in,
Yeah.
if you watch me now, I've been in that situation.
Yeah.
Keep hope, be resilient. One day, mark my word, everything gonna be fine.
Yes.
You're not alone. There are many people around the world standing with you in a solidarity.
Yeah.
And especially New Zealanders who are watching this show, although even their voice are not present, their heart was here. Be strong, and God will bless you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Van, Faisal, Asif, and Puent.
Thank you.
Next time we will be talking about family reunification. And thank you for watching us live in Auckland, New Zealand.